Did we get the link? Is it
It's alive.
it's alive? Oh, so they don't need a separate link than the normal one, right?
But they don't.
Okay.
But I'll send them to the link anyway
Okay,
now.
yeah, just.
See the prayer books? It's over there in the blue.
Bottom shelf. Okay, thank you. Okay, so you can start with a praise to Manjushri there.
Obeisance to my guru and protector, Manjushri, who holds to his heart a scriptural text symbolic of the seeing of all things as they are, whose understanding shines forth as the sun, unclouded by defilements or traces of ignorance, who teaches in 60 ways with the patient love of a father for his only son. All creatures caught in the prison of samsara, confused in the darkness of their ignorance, overwhelmed by suffering. You whose thunder-like proclamation of Dhamma for us from the stupor of our Christians, frees us from the iron chains of our harm. Whose powerful sword of wisdom gives down suffering wherever its doubts appear, clearing away the darkness of ignorance, whose princely body is adorned with 112 marks of a Buddha, who has completed the 10 stages, achieving the highest perfections of Bodhisattva, who has been pure from the beginning. Manjushri, all loving one, with the brilliance of your wisdom, illuminate the darkness enclosing my mind, enlighten my intelligence and wisdom so that I may gain insight into the Buddha's words and the texts that explain them. To the perfection of wisdom, indescribable by words or thoughts, which does not arise and does not cease, in nature like space, whose object belongs to the individual subject's awareness, I prostrate to the mother of the Congress of the times. Thus stood I here at one time, the Bhagwanis dwelling at the mass of vultures mountain, near Rajgriha, together with the great community of monks and the great community of Bodhisattvas. At that time, the Bhagavan was absorbed in the concentration and the convert phenomenon called profound perception. Also at that time, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Vishvara looked upon the very
Practice the profound perfection of wisdom. Hold those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. Through the power of Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra said this to the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Avalokiteshvara. How should any son of the lineage train who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom? Said that, and the Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara said this to the Venerable Shariputra. Any son of the lineage, daughter of the lineage, who wishes to practice the activity of the profound perfection of wisdom, look upon it like this, correctly and repeatedly beholding those 5 aggregates also as empty of inherent nature. It was empty, emptiness is form, emptiness is not other than form is also not other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty, which are likewise all phenomena are emptiness, without characteristic, unproduced, unceased, stainless, not without stain, not deficient, not fulfilled. Shipucha, therefore, in emptiness there is no form, no feeling, no discrimination, additional factors, no consciousness. No eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. Visual form, no object, there's no object of touch, and no phenomenon. There's no eye element, and so on up to including no mind element and no mental consciousness element. There's no ignorance, no extinction of ignorance, and so on up to including no aging and death, no extinction of aging and death. Similarly, there is no suffering, origination, cessation, and path. There's no exalted wisdom, no attainment, and also no non-attainment. No attainment, just rely on, abide in the perfection of wisdom, without obstruction, without fear. They completely passed beyond nirvana, they reach the endpoint. There 3 times, also manifest completely awakened to unsurpassable, perfect, and enlightenment, to the perfection of wisdom. Mantra, the perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, equal to the unequaled. The mantra that thoroughly pacifies all suffering should be known as truth, since it is not false. The mantra of the perfection of wisdom is declared. Tayata gade gade paragade parasamgade bodhisoham. The Chota Bodhisattva Mahasattva should train in the profound perfection of wisdom like that. Bhagavan arose from that concentration and commended the Bodhisattva Mahasattva Hari Avalokiteshvara, saying, well said, son of the lineage, it is like that. It is like that, one should not profound perfection of wisdom, just as you have indicated, even that Haratakadas rejoice. Bhagavan thus spoke in the Venerable Shariputra Bodhisattva Mahasattva Hari Avalokiteshvara, the surrounding in their entirety, along with the world of gods, humans, devas, and devas, were overjoyed and highly praised that spoken by the Bhagavan.
I prostrate you together with the knees and break your chakras, who abide in holy yoga in space.
Powers of clairvoyance and illumination, look after practitioners like a mother her child. The teachings of the 3 supreme jewels, possessing the power of truth, and outer hindrances be transformed. May they be dispelled, may they be pacified, may they be completely pacified. Chandam Kurari Soham. May all negative forces opposed to Dharma be completely pacified. May the host of 80,000 obstacles be pacified. May we be separated from problems and harmful conditions to Dharma. May all endurance be in accord with the Dharma, and may there be auspiciousness and perfect happiness here, right now. Foundation of all good qualities is the kind and perfect pure Guru. Correct devotion to him is the root of the path. By clearly seeing this and applying great effort, please must be to rely upon him in great respect. Understanding that the precious freedom of this rebirth is found only once, it's great, you feel meaningful, it is difficult to find again. Please bless me to generate the mind that unceasingly, day and night, takes its essence. This life is as impermanent as a water bubble. Remember how quickly it decays and death comes. After death, just like a shadow follows the body, the results of black and white karma follow. Finding firm and definite conviction of this, please bless me always to be careful to abandon even the slightest negativity, accomplish all virtuous deeds. Seeking samsaric pleasure is the door to all suffering. They are uncertain and cannot be relied upon. Recognizing these shortcomings, please bless me to generate the strong wish for the bliss of liberation. Led by this pure thought, mindfulness, alertness, and great caution arise. The root of the teachings of keeping the party moksha vows, please bless me to see this little practice. Fallen into the sea of samsara, so have all mother migratory beings. Please bless me to see this, train in supreme bodhicitta, and bear the responsibility of freeing migratory beings. I may have found bodhicitta, but I did not practice the 3 types of morality. I will not achieve enlightenment. With clear recognition of this, please bless me to practice the bodhisattva vows with good energy. Complexify distractions to wrong objects. We analyze the meaning of reality. Please bless me to generate the path of calm abiding and special insight. Training in the general path, please bless me to generate the fortunate ones, the supreme Vajra vehicle. At that time, the basis of accomplishing the 2 attainments, being pure vows and samaya, As I become firmly convinced of this, please bless me to protect these vows and pledges like my life. And having to the two stages, the essence of the Vajrayana, by holding to the forest, never giving up the 4 sessions, please bless me to realize the teachings of the Holy Guru. Like that, may the spiritual friend to practice it have long lives. Please bless me to pacify completely all outer and inner hindrances. In all my lives, never separated from perfect gurus, magnificent Dharma, completed in the quality of the stages and paths, may quickly attain the state of Vajradhara. Do you know how to chant it? No? Okay. I'll teach you. Zangi chudan zugi chudam la jandu badu dadi gyabzu chi dagi chudun gibe zunam ki drola be zangi druba sho zangi chudan zugi chudam la jandu badu dadi gyabzu chi Dagi chidin ki bed sodam ki drola bend Gidrubayo zangi chudan sugi chudam la dandu badu dani Kebzu chi dagi chidin ki bed sodam ki bend zangi drubasho. So again, we'll just begin to sit quietly for a couple minutes. Okay, so welcome everybody. So it's a bit depleted this week. Seems a lot of people had to go various places for the holiday, so it's just a couple people here. I don't know how many people are online, but we'll still continue. I think it's the first time we've had the teaching in 3 weeks. Is that right? Yeah. So it's good. We can keep going. I think also 2 weeks, 3 weeks ago when we had the teaching, we lost the teaching, right? It didn't get recorded. Or there's no sound on the recording, I think was the problem. So unfortunately, it was had to be there to get the teaching. I think actually it was quite an important topic, right? We were talking about the general characteristics of karma. So I'm not going to repeat everything I said, but the main point I was making that I think is really important is to remember is that karma is not a very hidden phenomenon. It's something that we can analyze with reason. Right? It's the specific aspects, the specific ripening of specific causes and effects that's considered very hidden, but the general picture of it is not. So it's not something just to take on faith. It's something that, for one thing, I think it's the most important teaching of the Buddha. It's really the central teaching. And it's interesting, you were just mentioning this week, and I'd heard that before, that people say it was already an Indian idea, the karma, but this idea that it's based on virtue and non-virtue and your mental state was very much an idea that either the Buddha himself or around that time was becoming predominant. And so that is something quite unique and later became adopted by their other religions also. But it's the idea not only of good and bad, but also just that reality is essentially a reflection of our mind. That is very central to the message of the Buddha, and is not something that, again, I think it's not something that we just don't question. It's very important to think about what does this mean, and that's, as I often say, I think that's the whole point of the teachings on emptiness. I think it's sometimes misunderstood that emptiness is just about kind of a conceptual error that we make, which is part of the thing, but it's not just about like kind of sometimes in these sort of more modern spiritual approaches, it's sort of they assume a materialist background or framework for everything, and then talk about how you're creating your reality within that framework. But that's not what's going on here. It's talking about creating physical reality as a creation, as a reflection of the mind. And of course, it's not. The Madhyamaka school does not say that in the way that the Chittamatra, the mind-only school, says, saying that it is the nature of mind, but they would not disagree that it's a reflection of mind, and that what appears to us is a reflection of our karma. No Buddhist school disagrees with that, as it says in the Abhidhammakosha, Lele Jitkinatsuke. So from karma, varied worlds arise. The world comes from karma, and none of the Buddhist schools dispute that. But how that happens, it's not said. It's not just something we leave to, well, we don't know, and we just leave it at that. That's the whole point of studying and debating these things, is to try to see how could this be possible and gain some sense of conviction or doubt about it. And that's very good if we have doubt, because then you can actually say, is it this or that? And here's a point where there's a question, as opposed to sort of being vague and not thinking, well, what does this challenge about how I conceive of how reality is, and then asking questions about that. We don't have to be sort of how do you say? We don't have to be polite and not ask those questions. That's what's encouraged in our tradition, is to debate it. And this debate is a lot of things, but it's not polite. There's a lot of rules of politics, of course. When you clap your hands at the beginning, you should have your Zen down, right? You don't put your Zen over your shoulder or wrap it around your waist until later in the debate, right? Once you take control, then you wrap your Zen around your waist. But you have certain
rules. It's like I don't know any of you did wrestling. I did wrestling in high school, and when you start the wrestling match, you always have to shake the opponent's hand, and at the end as well. All right, it'd be very rude not to do that, but in between, there are certain rules you follow, but it's not exactly it's not like a how do you say a friendly conversation, something like that. So it's like that in debate, but it's done because in wrestling, it's not you don't wrestle because you want to fight the person. It's not that you're singling somebody out. It's because you both want to improve in your skill that you're developing. And likewise with debate, it's a shared agreement that we both want to understand this, and then we're going to help each other understand this. And it doesn't help me if you're just easy on me and don't point out my faults. Then it doesn't help me to learn. So anyway, with that said, I think we'll just move on to the topic of today. So last time we had talked about the 4 aspects of karma, right? The 4 general aspects. So just to refresh, it's always good to get an idea of where we are, right? It's Delek Tamchiki Tsawa, Jikide Bakeba, right? So generating faith, the faith of conviction, which is the root of all goodness and happiness, right? So that is faith in karma. And that is the second topic within this section about what happens in the next life, right? How do you rely upon the method for generating a happy experience in the future lifetime? So that has Dempala Jupeko Dampa Kebdro. So training in going for refuge, which is the holy gateway of the teachings, and then this one, the root of karma. So the root of happiness and goodness, faith of conviction and karma, and then those both come from. So that the relying on the method of happiness for the next life, that goes together with diktin chimedonigilokevo. So generating the mind, which is intending or striving for the next life and not just thinking about this one limited lifetime. Well, sorry. So where we are today, we're on 162 in your book. I'm just flipping back to the outline, so we refresh. You don't have to do that, but where we are is 162. Of course, many of you might have different books, but he has the same edition as I do here. And then those two come from the Kebuchunga, right? The small path of in common with the small capable being. So later we'll get the middle capable being. Or sorry, those two directly come from the actual way of training in the mind of the small capable being. And later we get the measure having generated that mind, and then dispelling wrong views about that. And that is the section on the lower capable being, together with the middle capable being, greater capable being. That's the actual way of taking the essence of this human life. And that goes together with relying, recognizing the freedom and endowments that we have, right? So the essence, the preciousness of this experience we have as a human life. And then those two go together with the actual way of training the mind. And that then goes together with the method of taking the essence of this life, and those to go together with then the way of relying on the spiritual teacher, right? And then those two go together with come from the actual instruction, right? So that goes to the beginning of the text, and then the introductory sections and so forth. So here we are in the section on karma. So within this section, there was the Chirsampa, the first is Chirsampa, the general way of thinking about karma, and then Chedaktusampa, specific aspects of karma to think about, and then finally Samne Jukdok Chidar Chawetsul, so that having considered about it or contemplated about it, the way of engaging and abstaining from various actions, depending on whether they're positive or negative. And then, so this first section, the general way of contemplating is Chirsampa news, the actual way of thinking about it in general, which is the 4 characteristics we talked about last week, and then Susuchete Sampa, so then dividing it into individual parts, so the 10 paths of action essentially, and then thinking about it that way. So there's all different ways to think about it. That's what That's the general approach of the Lamrim Chemo, is to reflect on it from many different angles. So, Sosa Chede Sampadani. So this has two sections. Lelam Chu Tso Tempa. So showing that the 10 paths of action are the main paths of action. It's not the only thing you could possibly do, but it's if we focus on the main ones, then the other ones will be fairly straightforward. And then Leidan Drebuten Lahapa. So then actually ascertaining what is the karma, what is the result. Now, we say 10 paths of action as though it's all very straightforward. Most actions we do are not so straightforward. It's always, but oftentimes it's not so easy to say, is this a positive or negative action? Things depend upon a lot of different factors and different contexts, and things are not always so clear cut. Nevertheless, we have some general guiding principles, and then we can use our wisdom to then adapt that to whatever situation we're in. That's certainly the understanding, and I've found anyway in Vinaya, studying the monastic discipline. There's very few situations in Vinaya that correspond exactly to anything that happens in my life. But knowing the general principles of the various things, it makes a lot of sense of how to apply the teachings to what happens in your life, which is often quite unique. So with that, we have the showing that these 10 paths of action are the main ones. So Detar Deduki Gundre Susuni Patang Le Pilchewatam, Machepatam, Machepatam Mitreching, Chepachuso Chumisawa Ripade. So it's just saying, we just talked about in this last section, ascertaining the causes and results of happiness and suffering, showing that it's definite. Karma is definite. These are the 4 characteristics. It increases. You will not meet with the results of something you didn't do, and something you did will not just go to waste. So having ascertained that, it now says, Le tandre butsul dindaweshikla tokmar ngepakine landur chajena. So then how, at the beginning, do we ascertain the general characteristics of karma and effect? Having ascertained that, what do we do and not do, right? Langdur cha. Now, they're sort of more eloquent way to translate that. Langdur is what to adopt, what to discard, right? That's literally what it means. Although in Namdröling a few years ago, they released a book, Penra Rinpoche. Penra Rinpoche was the founder of Namdröling Monastery, or the first abbot. And he had a book in Tibetan, it was called, Langdur Chawe Dronme, I think, something like that. The lamp for what to adopt and what to discard. In English, it was, I don't know who translated it, but they translated the title as The Great Lamp of the Do's and Don'ts. Right? Sounds a little bit more, I don't know, like a book for children or something, but that is generally the point, right? It just depends on what kind of language we use. So understanding what kind of things bring positive results, what kind of things bring negative results. So, cheer lekche niche jupe goni sumdungela. So it says there's 3, it's limited to 3, the doors by which we can engage in positive actions and harmful actions. So gosumgi gemi ge tamchele alegilam chor madukyang. So the 3 doors, which is body, speech, and mind, it doesn't actually say it explicitly. Also, it's there. So although the doors by which we can engage in actions is limited to those 3, saying it's not limited, they're not condensed into just 10 actions. When you talk about positive and negative karma, and of course there's neutral karma also, but he's not talking about that here. It doesn't all fit into just 10. But ge me ge namgi chelongam rapakana matowe shi shindu chewat nam. So really the most, he's saying chelong means like a rough division. Or rakpa, same thing, roughly. Kana mato is negative action. So the bases of negative action, shindu chewanam, the very coarse, very serious negative actions, because that's what the point here. We're talking about the lower capable being, which is where you start first by abandoning the most serious negative actions so that you don't send yourself into a negative rebirth in the future. Then in the middle capable being later, we talk more subtly about positive and negative in terms of achieving liberation. But here it's those quite coarse things. So the literal, like say, the do's and don'ts. So Sangye chomden degi ne dune napo lelam chuar sungshung. So the Buddha condensed the main points and then talked about the 10 black actions. Derak pangna dun shindu chewe ne nam kyang chur durrazikne. So he also saw that abandoning those 10 is a very important point, and then condensed it into 10. The 10 abandonment of those 10. So seeing that, karpo lelam chur sungte, then he taught about the 10 virtuous actions, right? So in this context, the 10 virtuous actions are just abandoning the 10 non-virtuous actions. So not killing is the opposite of killing. But in some contexts, you'll also see it in terms of doing the opposite. So instead of killing, it's giving life or protecting life. And then instead of stealing, it's practicing generosity and so forth. But here, it's just talking about abandoning those 10. So in the Abhidhamma Kosha, it says, Dele chelong dune ni gera mige chirikpa legi lami chorsung so. Right, so the same word, chelong. If we condense it in a very coarse way, then we have either virtue and non-virtue. There are 10 paths of these, 10 paths of action. Shetang lungnam chele. So then this is the Vinaya Vibhanga, the sutra on Vinaya actually. So ngaknam sungjing igi rabdam de. So guard your speech, and then restrain yourself with your mind. Lugi mige wata mi chejing. So then don't do the negative actions of body. Lenam sumpo derak rabjang na. So if you practice well these 3 paths of action, which is talking about body, speech, and mind here, Chongsum sumwe lamni topargyur, then you will achieve the path that was taught by the sage, which is Buddha. Shesungso, right? Chongso means siddhi. Oh, not siddhi. Rishi. Yeah, you know the term rishi in Sanskrit? Yeah. It's Chongsong in Tibetan. So, Shesungso. Napo lelam chu, dreburan chipershene. So then the 10 paths of black actions, if you know those, then deraki kulong samne kyang damde. So then you will restrain yourself from even generating the intention to do them, right? Because that's considered even in itself as a negative action. As soon as you generate the intention, it's not that you just have the thought. It's a little different. It's not that, if you get angry, you can work with your anger. It's when you actually make the decision, I'm going to do this, and then later you change your mind. That's when you generate the negative action. But simply having anger arise in your mind, it's not that you need to suppress it. It's a matter of working with it skillfully so it doesn't control you and you don't assent to it. That's the main thing. So gosum derak tang ye madre percepe gewachui legilam tempedini. So then relying upon the 10 paths of virtue, which is totally unmixed with your body, your body, speech, and mind being totally unmixed with those. So the 10 virtues in this case are abandoning those other 10, so you're totally unmixed with them. Dini tepasum tamche tang kebu doni drupe shirmeda mirongwe. So it's an indispensable basis for achieving the purpose of both the 3 vehicles and the 2 beings. I think 2 beings here means self and other. Kibuduni. I not really heard that term used much, but it would make sense. It's the 2 beings meaning self and other, and the 3 vehicles, which is the Charlavaka, Praitika Buddha, Bodhisattva. So why? So because of that, Gawe go dumane yande yandu ngapa yende. So for that reason, the victor, the Buddha, he praised this again and again through many means. So for example, in the Gatso Jupa, which is the sutra requested by the Naga king, Gatso. Yeah. Sumedra, right? Sumedra. how do you say ocean in Sanskrit?
Samudra.
Samudra. Okay, yeah. So that's the name of the sutra. A sutra requested by Samudra. So Gewit Chunam Shechawani. So what do we talk about the virtuous dharmas? Lata mi kegu punsun sopetsawateno. So that is the root basis for all the good things of all beings, humans and gods. Nientuta rangsangiki janjuki tsaweteno. It's the basis for the good things of all Surdavakas and Paraiteka Buddhas. It could be that then the two beings is humans and gods, but I don't think that's what it's. I don't think it's in reference to that. And then it's also the basis of complete manifest and complete Buddhahood. So what is that root basis? So it's 10 virtuous actions. And it also says, Lui Dakpo, Perna. So the Buddha is speaking to he says, you, Naga Lord. Trong tong trong kir tong trong del tong jong tong yung kor tong gyalpo po trong tam che tong. So he's just listing places. So trong, so town, city, village, district, country, and then the king's palace. All of those, and then sa tong, xing gewa tong, men tong, xing tam che tong, legi ta tam che tong, sabungit. So then grass and plants and medicine and all the trees, all the paths of action, legita, like livelihood, right? And then all the collection of seeds. So we haven't gotten to the point yet. And lotok tamche keishing, and then all the crops they grow. Moa tang. So moa is to plow, right? So plowing. And then shewe shilatang chungwanam ni shewa. That I'm not actually sure. I get caught there. But anyway. Salanete. They all depend upon the earth. Right? So it's basically the point is all of these things on earth that happen, they all depend upon the earth. All the cities and towns and all the plowing and all the planting of seeds, it all happens in dependence upon the earth. Right? Teragineni sayano. So the basis of all of that, it's the same. Yeah, they abide on the earth because their abode is the earth. That's what it's saying. Lui dapudation. So he says, you Naga Lord, in the same way. Gewechu legidam dedakni lata mir kewatan lopatami lope gejongi drebu topatang. Rangsangi gijanjuptang. Under simpe chupatam chetang. So he's saying, likewise, the 10 virtuous paths of the 10 virtuous actions is like the earth, in that it is the basis of the abode of all humans and gods and of trainers and those completed training and all the results of the virtuous life, which is talking about stream entry, once returner, non-returner, and arhat. So achieving that, and then the Pradeka Buddhas, and the practices of the Bodhisattvas, and the Dharma of the Buddha. It all depends upon the 10 virtues, not 10 non-virtues, right? All depends upon the 10 virtues. She sungso. So de chir sachupe done mege chu pongitsulchum ngape don. So then it's saying that is the reason why it praises the path of the 10 virtuous actions in the Dasa Bhumi Sutra, the Sutra on the 10 grounds, which is a chapter of the Avatamsaka Sutra. We have it up there on the shelf. So, Umalajupa Lekyang. So this is in the Madhyamakavatara by Chandrakirti. So keo nam tang sunke tang rangjan jupla dani nge nam tang kyalse namgi nge perlepa tang untu gyuni sutram leshan me. So for all ordinary beings and for all those who are born from the teachings, which is talking about Saravakas, and then all for those who are intent or certain in their own enlightenment, which is Parayateka Buddhas, and then Jina Putras, the sons of the victors, right, which is the Bodhisattvas. All of their Ngilek. So Ngilek is talking about nirvana and nirvana and enlightenment, right? And then Ngonto Gyuni, the cause of all of their higher status, meaning their birth in positive rebirths, is nothing other than ethical discipline. Now, we had a question, I think